Hello, it's me, Sammy, and this is my first video of 2021. So sorry there's been a bit of a break. It was Christmas and holidays, etc. But I've had my children with me for a few weeks and they've now departed to their other homes. And I'm back again with some time on my hands where I can get around to making some videos. So this video is going to be departing a little bit from the narcissism theme, and it's looking at addiction through a different lens. Narcissism and narcissistic entanglements are all steeped in addiction issues, but this is particularly in relation to alcohol addiction. And the reason I feel inspired to make it is threefold, really. First of all, there's a lot of people doing dry January at the moment because it's that thing of, everyone's indulged a little bit over the festive season, even though it's been a very weird festive season for all of us. So there's that compulsion to want to sort of get healthy and get fit, as we do at the start of every new year. So people are attempting to do dry January with varying or lesser degrees of success. Secondly, I watched the Queens Gambit, and I'm quite late to the Queens Gambit party. I know people have been talking about it for a long time. I've only just got around to watching it. And if you haven't seen it, it's a story of a brilliant woman who becomes a world-class master chess player. But she also has addiction issues. She's like completely addicted to alcohol, and she's also addicted to some kind of pills. I'm not sure exactly what they are. They never say, but they're some kind of tranquilizer that she trips out on and that give her the illusion that they are in some way helping her to master some of this tricky chess stuff. She sort of feels like she can, with the help of these pills, it gives her deeper insight to be able to calculate and figure out how to play sort of world champion chess. And then I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a really great series, and I did feel like with regards to the addiction stuff, it sort of wrapped it up in a nice little neat bow at the end, which didn't really address her recovery or any of the difficulties that sort of people face in addiction beyond just the fact that she was just getting fucked up all the time. And I did find it quite difficult to watch it because the way that she drank, and she drank in party settings, but she also drank a lot on her own and would get absolutely, she would drink to oblivion. And, I used to drink like that. It's a long time since I've drunk like that. I'm coming up for 3 years sober this time. But, I found it distressing to watch it because, it's essentially drinking like that. And some would say anybody drinking, really, it's a form of self-harm because essentially it's poison. But we'll get into that a bit later on. So there's that aspect that's making me want to do this. And then also we've just gone back into another lockdown. I mean, we're sort of like a couple of weeks in now, aren't we? And a few weeks in. And everybody's feeling really stressed and upset and uptight. I'm saying everybody. Not everybody is feeling that. Everybody's dealing with it in their own different ways. And for me personally, I've come off social media. I don't watch the news, and I really try very hard not to take too much of the fear that's going around at the moment, so that I can look after my mental health. And some people's way of coping is to use the tools that they use in life to numb them out. And for a lot of people, that is alcohol. And I was as guilty of that as the next person. And I know that certainly in the last lockdown, my addictions massively rose up to the fore. Addictions on every level. I've been playing out some very addictive behaviours over the last year. I can freely admit that. And I'm quite glad that this time in lockdown, I'm able to I'm being a bit more conscious about how I'm looking after myself and making a real concerted effort to massively look after myself, eat good food, sleep. I mean, there's not much else to do, really, is there? If you're not able to work, and I'm one of those people who's not able to work at the moment because theatres are all closed down. Anyway, that's another story. This is about addiction. But ultimately, addiction is something that we all use to help us cope with life. Or we use our addictions as tools and crutches to help us navigate the life. And so the first thing that I want to say is that this was a revelation to me when I realised this. You don't have to drink. We are really brainwashed by the society that we live in to think that, drinking is a necessary lubricant to our lives. Pretty much from birth, we are bombarded with information coming from our families, coming from society, coming from culture, coming from advertising, coming from films, coming from media, that drinking is just a really normal thing to do. Not only is it normal to do, but there's something abnormal about you if you don't do it. People that don't drink are seen as, not all, I think it is changing, but it used to be seen as there was something really wrong with you. And because of some of the ideology that we have around addiction and alcohol addiction in particular, this kind of concept of alcoholics, there's real shame and stigma attached to recognizing that you might have a difficult relationship with alcohol, or a relationship with alcohol that needs addressing. So that's something I want to talk about as well. But firstly, a little bit about my journey with addiction and alcohol in particular. I'm about to come up to 3 years sober. The last time I drank alcohol was on the 5th of March, 3 years ago, coming up for 3 years ago. Prior to that, I'd been in and out of sobriety from alcohol anyway for 20 years. In my mid-20s, I wound up in intensive care a couple of times after binge drinking, and I had something called pancreatitis. And at that point, I was told, you can't drink alcohol anymore. And I've never been more devastated about anything in my life, because my whole life revolved around drinking. And no, that's an exaggeration, but it was a huge part of my life. It was at the foundation of many of my friendships and relationships. And I just couldn't even conceive of a life without alcohol. And I know there'll be many of you watching this who will also, on some level, not be able to conceive of not being able to have alcohol in your life. You will, if you really, even if you don't think that you've got a problem with it, to sort of imagine that you would never be able to have an alcoholic drink ever again is something that would probably fill you with a bit of fear. And it's probably a crutch in your life more than you realise. So yeah, I was told that at the age of 25. And then since then, I've been in and out of sobriety with varying or lesser degrees. And I've tried pretty much anything and everything that you can think of to stop drinking. Willpower, AA, I used to do Allen Carr. So Allen Carr was the one that was the most successful for me. Allen Carr's easy way to control drinking. And that got me to 4 years of sobriety. And that was, I don't know. I mean, probably like 7 or 8 years ago, I came across that and I managed to stop for 4 years. But then when I went back to drinking, I went back with a vengeance. And at that point, I did literally drink myself into oblivion and ended up in some very serious situations as a consequence of that compulsion. At that point, I hit a bit of a rock bottom, and then I had the will and the desire, and thankfully I found really good resources to help me quit alcohol once and for all. So this is just a message to say, like, lots of us right now are reaching for crutches and tools to help us cope with the craziness that our world is throwing up for us. I'm just putting it out there as a possibility. You don't need to drink alcohol, right? You just don't need to do it. Just putting that out there as an idea. It's such a foreign idea for us. We just become so dependent on it, but it's really possible to live a really amazing, fulfilling and interesting life without alcohol. Now, I want to be transparent. I do still, I'm not sober in every sense. There are other things that I do, and that's my sovereign right to do so, even though, some of these things are illegal, and they shouldn't be, in my opinion, because I believe that there are natural plants that grow in the earth that we should be allowed to eat and use as we choose. But that's getting into another area again, which is probably not something that I need to do right now. But you don't need to drink alcohol, right? So for me, the AA thing didn't work because I don't prescribe to the concept of alcoholics. To me, it's not alcoholics that get addicted to alcohol, it's people. And people get addicted to all kinds of things for all kinds of reasons. First of all, addiction is steeped in actual survival programs. Our brains are hardwired to seek out dopamine. And dopamine is the pleasure response, and we get that in response to finding really nice food, having sex, anything that is, on a basic level fundamental to our survival. And we are hardwired to seek out dopamine in our lives because that's what keeps us alive. Now, it just so happens that sugar hits dopamine, alcohol hits dopamine, drugs hit dopamine, Facebook hits dopamine, shopping hits dopamine. I mean, there are so many things, gambling, all these things are hitting the same receptors that are responsible for keeping us alive. So it's absolutely no wonder that we become addicted to to these things. Alcohol is the drug and the substance and the pastime that is pushed most on us by the society that we live in. So, you know, from a very young age, most of us will be consuming alcohol on a regular basis. The other aspect of addiction, particularly with alcohol, is that it really damages your prefrontal cortex, which is at the front of your brain. And it's the part of your brain that is responsible for making choices and for your behaviour. And so for me, anybody can become an alcoholic. It's not exclusive to certain people, and it's not something that we should feel ashamed or stigma about. For me, I found a really good recovery program that was by a woman called Holly Whitaker, who at the time that I did it, it was called the Hip Sobriety. But now she's called it the Tempest or Temper. There's I think there's a publication called the Temper, which is an online magazine. An online magazine where you can find out and read lots of articles to do with sobriety and recovery. And then there's also her actual recovery program that you can do online called The Tempest. So I'm going to put some links to all that down there. But it literally was amazing because it looks at it from a really holistic point of view, and it looks at it from maybe 8 or 9 different angles. I don't want to devalue AA. I know for so many people it has literally saved their lives and created a whole community for them to restart their lives with. And so no intention of devaluing that whatsoever. If it's worked for you, then great. But the thing is, something that I do want to say is that it's important that we know there are other ways to recover, and that's not just the only way. Everybody's different, and everybody's got a different set of needs and a different reason why they are in the situation that they're in, which is reflecting on their relationship with alcohol. And some people might not want to call themselves an alcoholic, and sort of attach all the perceived meanings that go along with that concept. I mean, I just don't believe in it at all, and I also don't want to hand away my power to another source. I've spent my whole life handing my power away, and I actually want to bring the power back to myself. I know people in AA might take issue with my perception of that, but for me, that doesn't feel empowering. I actually want to be able to find my own power so that I can make my own choices about what I put in my body. And one of the things that I realised through doing this course with Holly Whitaker, is that there are so many different things you can do to help yourself. And these apply actually not just to addiction from alcohol, but to anything, including narcissists. Okay, so I think part of the reason why I found it easier to do it this time around was because I'd already been through narcissistic abuse recovery as well. And it's virtually the same thing. It really, really is. Like, we're all handing our power away to things on the outside of us, and narcissistic abuse is no different. But this specific recovery looked at meditation and Kundalini yoga and how it's possible to rewire your brain. It looked at the neuroscience and the science around addiction and how it impacts on the brain, how it affects the neural pathways, and how it damages what I was just talking about, the prefrontal cortex, and how memory and cravings happen. And it's not because you're a bad person or because you're lacking in moral integrity. It's because that's the way your fucking brain is wired, and it's actually really normal to do that. It's not like there's an inherent fault in you, and you don't have to go away and make a fearless inventory of all your faults and terribleness that exists within you. You know, there's a lot of the reasons why people drink in the first place, because they already feel shit about themselves. But anyway, for some people, they do need to go and do that. But for some people, they don't need to do that. What it is useful to do is go inside and address any traumas that you might have and any unconscious patterning and woundings that come from your family. So it also looks at familial relationships, relationships with your friends and your partners, and what part does alcohol play in those dynamics for you, and other things as well regarding getting therapy and trauma work, and finding new tools to bring into your life that fulfill the function that you were using alcohol for, and just opening your eyes to the concept that it's very possible to live a very amazing life free from alcohol in it. So that's what this message is about. It's just to say that, really, look after yourself, love yourself. I know it's easy for me to just say, just love yourself. It's not that easy. I know it's not. Fuck me. I know it's not that easy. As I say, it took me 23 years to find sobriety. No, 20 years. But I found it now. I've totally found it. I've got my little tattoo on my arm, TT, NQTD. That's what it says. It's all back to front and upside down. But basically, teetotal means teetotal. And never question the decision. Like, I don't even question the decision. I don't even think about it, and I don't miss it, and I don't care, and it doesn't bother me for the people who are drinking. And I don't tend to want to be around it for too long. Drunk people, they're fucking boring. Sorry, they really are. And I say that with all respect because I used to be a drunk, and so I'm not judging anybody for drinking. My God, no way. I've drunk more than my fair share, but I just want to open your eyes to the possibility that that's an option. And I'm going to put resources on here. Sorry, I've got a really itchy eye all of a sudden. I'm going to put some resources on the thing underneath here. But I hope this video has been inspiring to somebody out there. If it inspires one person to just reflect for 2 minutes on their relationship with alcohol, then that's a good thing, because ultimately alcohol is a tool for the society that we run in. It dumbs us down. It stops us functioning at our highest. And at this moment in time, we all really need to have our wits about us, be happy, be healthy, and in our functioning at our fullest capacity. Okay? It's really important. So please look after yourselves. And sending you lots of love and happy new year wishes. Okay, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Okay.